Today we're here with pure motivation to help unpack all these backpacks for children who can't afford one. They'll be here tomorrow and they will arrive in this building and see all these beautiful backpacks we left here for them.
So last year, correct, over 10,000 children came to the event. And these children are all living in difficult situations. Many of the families live just one paycheck away from disaster. I mean, how many of us, even in our own lives, have gone through situations, whether we were in school or maybe we had a single parent, where we know what it's like to go without. So this is all about the caring approach and how our community comes together to go ahead and serve others.
I think it's really important to help other people to each other so we can grow up together and we can make a better community.
I think this event is very important because it makes us better people, and I think everyone at Food Sale should not be thinking only about being the best professional, but also giving back to the community as, for example, being here.
So there's such a variety of things that I would like children to leave with, but the main thing is that they could be inspired to not just be taken care of at our event, but they could be inspired to one day, maybe when they get older, to understand that they didn't just go to a back-to-school event, but this was an event that was created with the purpose to make sure that they were taken care of and that they, becoming older, could do the same thing and love somebody else.
All right. So we are live with Mr. Radka. How you doing, sir?
Hey, doing good, Rob. Hey, everybody. And what a great video. I've never seen that video before.
Yeah, we thought it would be a great surprise for you. Just because we had to dig it up from Full Sail.
That's pretty cool. What I liked seeing were all the folks that have come together for so many years from our community to go ahead and serve, the little kids that live, not far away from either the Amway Center or, in Seminole County, in Orange County, Osceola, serving all the families. That was a cool video. It's funny. I was see a few people that I know in there, and what a cool thing when over 400 people will come together, a completely volunteer-run effort to go ahead and serve the community. And there's so many people that are behind the scenes and make an effort like this happen. And I think we're going to talk to one of those folks that is an advocate that we call one of our ambassadors of hope, to really get the word out and give their voice to something meaningful like serving kids that live in tough situations in our community, Rob.
Yes. So for those of you that are just tuning in, I'm Rob Henlon. Mr. Radka was kind enough to put me on the board for the Back to School Bash, and we are engaging in dialogue with people in the community that are part of the community, and Cox Media Group is one of those partners and advocates for what the Home Now Foundation is doing. So without further ado, we're going to bring in a special guest. His name is Mr. Joe Kelley.
Excellent.
Hi, guys.
Hey, what's up, Joe? How you doing?
I am doing great. Thank you so much for including me today. I just want you to know that I'm in my car, but I'm not driving. I don't want you to think that I'm driving. You have my undivided attention right now.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being a part of this.
Of course, it's my pleasure. Listen, I got to tell you, I have a servant's heart, and I am usually at my happiest when I'm able to serve somebody else. And if that's something as simple as giving someone $1 or $2, or if that's something as complicated as organizing an online backpack fundraising opportunity. I mean, there's a lot of different ways to give and to serve our community, and I'm just happy that I'm in a position that I'm able to do so.
Wow.
Well, thanks, Joe. And what I think is cool in this situation is, Joe and Rob know this, and a lot of you do that are watching this. And by the way, what's I think extremely cool is because of social media, because of Instagram, Twitter, Facebook, literally thousands of people are getting this message right now. And just to echo what Joe just said, our message is one of hope, of love, of faith and action. Just really making sure that we take our time as a community to help others. And what better way to do that right now? And Joe mentioned we're doing a virtual school supply drive. And the tough situation is, and Joe knows this, is after 14 years of doing our back to school event, literally helping over 70,000 children, we had to cancel the event this year because of the COVID-19 pandemic. And this created a tough situation for us because we know that right now that in Central Florida, or I guess nationally, there are about 33 million people as of June that are unemployed. You know, this is a higher number than the peak of the Great Recession that we had several years ago. So we've always been helping folks, right, guys?
Yes.
But right now we had to cancel it, in essence saying we can't help anybody. But we didn't give up. We came together, all of us from WDBO to WFTV Channel 9 to Rob and the team and said, what can we do? And we came up with an idea called backpack-a-thon. And right now I could tell you person after person is going to the website and they can go on and see almost like an Amazon store and click on the back. They can see the backpacks that they're donating. And these backpacks will go directly to kids in our community. So right now, Joe, I think that what people are sending me messages is a lot of folks know about our efforts, but people want to get to know you a little bit more. I mean, they know you as a celebrity here in Central Florida. You know, they listen to you, but they want to know you a little bit more. And I'm getting actually some questions here. And Rob, is it okay if I?
No, go for it. Go for it.
Okay, so I got some funny ones here, but you know, I don't know how you're going to take these. But here's one that says, and it's a serious one. What led you to go into the profession that you're in, Joe? What kind is your story? What brought you to this point?
You know, coincidentally, I have not told this story in a while, but just yesterday, somebody asked me the same question. It's like, how did you get in radio? And I've been in radio since 1982, when I was 15 years old. And I am a bit like the Forrest Gump of radio, and that is things just happened. And I didn't have a whole lot of control over it, and things just happened. I'm like, all right, I'll take that. But you've heard the expression that opportunity knocks. But in my case, opportunity called on the phone. I was 15 years old and I was in a high school journalism class. And back in the early 1980s, not that either of you two guys are old enough to remember the 1980s.
Oh, no, not at all.
But back in the 1980s, we didn't have cell phones in every pocket, right? There weren't cell phones in classrooms. And so the only classroom that had a phone in it, was the journalism class. And I was in the journalism class, and the phone literally rang. Everybody was loud, out of control. And I kept thinking, is someone going to answer this phone? Is no one going to answer this? And no one answered it. And I thought, well, I better answer the phone. We don't want to have an unanswered phone. And I answered the phone, and little did I know that would be a 35-year plus career that was calling me on the phone.
Wow.
And they were looking for kids to come work for free at a radio station. And again, in 1982, this is before the internet, before cable TV took off. I mean, there were some, I think ESPN and MTV were around, and CNN. But it just took off for me. And as we've been through this pandemic and we've seen such job losses, Michael, that you referred to, I think to myself, if I ever had to go out and get a job, I would be hard pressed. Because in my mind, I've never had a job in my life because I've always done something that I've loved to do. And in that same time period, when I was 15, when I was a kid, I was a Boy Scout, right? And I achieved the rank of Eagle Scout. And I know that the scouting organization has changed a lot today from, again, back in the 1980s and such. But that's where I learned to help others in our community. That the heart to help others came to me in the Boy Scouts. And that was one of the things that we taught in the Boy Scouts. And you might even recall, even if you weren't in the scouting organization, but their motto was do a good turn daily.
Yes.
And that has always stayed with me.
Wow.
I have always felt that inside. And even if it is a total stranger, if there's, and I'll just give you an example. A listener had reached out to me not too terribly long ago because he knew that I went through a divorce and he needed some advice. I didn't know the guy, but I ended up giving him my cell number, and he and I text pretty much every day. I still never met him. But we text every day to help him get through his separation from his wife. And he's in great pain, and I understand that. And he's a stranger to me, but I still feel a sense, an obligation to help him. And that ability to help him, the fact that I can help him, brings me so much joy and satisfaction, much more so than anything in the physical realm. I'm not into the physical things, but I love if I can help somebody. That is what helps me sleep at night, is knowing that I'm able to help somebody, whether it's a child or my children, or it's a stranger, or it's a family member, or it's someone such as yourselves or someone that I work with. That's why we're here, isn't it? I mean, aren't we here as part of this human experience? Aren't we here to prop up and support and help the other humans having the same experience?
Yes. Wow. That's amazing. That's amazing. And
And
so,
I fear, Michael, when it comes to the backpack-a-thon and these kids that are in need and these families that are in need, I think about the cycle of poverty. And there are a lot of people who just don't understand the concept of a cycle of poverty. They don't understand how someone can still live in a poor neighborhood after 50, 60, 70 years, after 3 or 4 or 5 generations. Why do they still live because it's that cycle of poverty. And when we see cases like mass incarcerations and stuff like that, that really tears apart the family unit, I mean, then the need becomes greater and greater and greater. And this year especially, and Michael, this is where my heart hurts so bad, because you are having now a challenge thrown at you that you cannot have this fundraiser in person like you've done, for the past 14 years, that you have to do it online, and you're doing it online in a time in which the need has got to be greater than it has ever been before.
wow.
And
Yeah.
and how we connect the people who need and the people who have, and get those people together. I mean, that's why we have these discussions, in hopes that we can encourage people to understand the need, understand the problem, understand the need, and then understand how they can help out.
That's amazing. That's amazing. So Joe, you did mention your kids. I read that you had 3 kids. What are their ages, if you don't mind me asking?
So I've got a 16-year-old daughter who, this weekend, she and I are going to go look at cars.
Uh-oh.
Yeah, I know. And then I've got twin 14-year-old boys, to
Wow.
which I have told my 16-year-old daughter, whatever I do to help you get a car, I'm doing for the boys also. So I'm not buying 1 car, I'm buying 3 cars. And,
Wow.
and that's how the budget has to work. So
Wow. And I have one more question. It's not as serious as Michael's question, but can you tell me about Kitty George Washington?
oh my goodness gracious. Yeah, so this
Yep.
pandemic has seen the rise of her star, and Kitty George Washington is a girl. But I have this floofy, fluffy cat, and it is it's a Persian. It's a teacup Persian, so it's incredibly long-haired cat. And during the pandemic and the stay-at-home and everything else, I've been home with my cat every day. I mean, I've been home with my cat since March. And the cat shows up on my live videos and shows up on the radio. I mean, you can hear her meow in the background on the radio. And it never would have occurred to me that I have a cat that would become a superstar. But now
Wow.
everybody keeps asking me, when is Kitty George Washington going to get her own social media feeds. And for those who are wondering why that cat's name is Kitty George Washington,
come on,
an unorthodox name.
What's going on
my
there?
16-year-old, I know. This is my 16-year-old daughter named him because the dog is the cat, Kitty George Washington, is so fluffy that she has this look like mutton chops, right? The old mutton chops, this big furry thing on her face. And my daughter at the time, and she was much younger than 16, she was probably 10 or 11, but she confused the presidents, and she said, I want to name him after George Washington because of the beard. Well, George Washington may have had a beard at one point, I have no idea, but he wasn't known for having a beard, right? So what I realized was that she got her presidents wrong, and she meant President Fillmore. There was I don't even remember now off the top of my head, but there's a president that has this woolly thing right here. And it just, at that point, it already became Kitty George Washington. But then in a stroke of really good luck of sorts, when the Black Lives Matter rallies started and when we lost George Floyd and all the national thing went on, I realized how easy it was to change Kitty George Washington's name to honor an African-American that is famous in American history, and that is George Washington Carver. So I added another surname to the end of her name. So it's now Kitty George Washington Carver. And so we're covering all of the bases here to make sure that we are honoring and respecting everything that is worthy of our honor and respect.
That is amazing. That is amazing.
Rob, what a question. I mean,
thank you.
You know everything. But I got to tell you, Joe, neither George have mutton chops, I don't think. Neither one of them.
Yeah, I don't think so. I don't think so either. Yeah.
Oh, man.
And I get that question, and then everybody's like, well, Kitty George Washington, that's a boy cat. I'm like, no, it's a girl.
It's a girl cat. So you covered everything because you have the gender rights covered with that.
That's
also.
right.
It's like equal opportunity.
So we're covered on Me Too. We're covered on BLM.
Yes.
I mean, we're good.
Yes.
You're good representation here.
I'll tell you what, you said Persian. And so my wife, Carla, actually adopted a Persian cat 3 months ago. Wow. And we don't have a name yet. So now I appreciate the ideas. You can let your kids know now that, we're going to go presidential on this, maybe.
Yeah.
But they're like incredible. We've never had a cat before. And we have a basset hound. And now the Persian cat and the basset hound are like great friends.
Wow.
And
it makes me so happy to hear that.
Relax, they take it easy. But again, it's a no-name cat. We just call it Kitty right now. So we'll see what happens.
Yes.
Well, I'm not an expert in cats, but I can tell you the cats don't answer to whatever name you call them anyway. So the name is irrelevant. They show up when they want to show up, not when you call them.
We got a few more minutes here with you, Joe, and I got some other questions coming in from viewers. And there's an interesting one here. There's going to be some funny ones that come in. And it says, if you could switch lives with someone for a day, who would you choose? I mean, I guess you could take a liberty. It could be either somebody that's currently alive or somebody that's passed away. If you could switch lives with somebody, who would it be? Who would you choose is what it says here. I know it's a tough one. Maybe Rob, I'm going to ask you this question, Rob.
That is a wow.
Honestly,
let's go with Joe first.
I would like to come back as Michael as your basset hound. I mean, if I could be your basset hound, and you lay around all day and slobber and drool on things with your big floppy ears, and
yes,
I think I'd want to come back as a dog. Honestly,
Wow, that's a good one. I think Joe took mine. Oh wow. Let me see.
I think one thing you said earlier, Joe, is about Forrest Gump, and I know that's a fictional character, but I don't know if you guys have read the book. I read the book, and actually, do you know in the book, Forrest goes to space?
Wow.
Really? I did not know that.
Cool? Isn't that cool? And also, 2 years ago, we have a friend of ours that and shout out to her. I shout out a correct term, Rob. Do we say that, Joe? Do we say that?
Yes,
Yeah.
definitely.
Sure.
So shout out to her. She was Miss America, and she let us stay in her cabin in North Carolina. And her cabin is right near the mountain where Forrest Gump, after he grows the long beard, and he goes running with the people. They actually call it Forrest Gump Curve. And Joe, I've got 3 sons and an adopted daughter. Carla and I do. And we went running up that curve to go ahead and kind of show our homage to Forrest Gump, which was kind of cool.
Wow, that's amazing. Well, I think we lost Joe temporarily, but I do know that he is getting ready to join another meeting at 11 o'clock. So I would just piggyback off of what you were saying, Michael, with the Forrest Gump point. Just hearing Joe's story, that assures me that he definitely was not Forrest Gump. He was placed. He was the person. That phone call that was ringing was definitely for him, and it was meant for him to be where he's at right now. So it's no accident, and you just could tell just by the soul and the person that he is.
Yeah, Rob, that's an awesome point. And for Hope Now, the foundation, it's completely volunteer run.
Right.
We have no paid staff. Now we do have water wells because we're a part of Living Water, the organization, Living Water for Roatan. And we have water wells in Central America with amazing folks. And so we do pay some folks to run the wells there. But I mean, these are massive, massive wells of providing the only source of drinking water to folks. But here locally, we're all volunteers. And Joe Joe Kelley with WDBO being one of our volunteers and one of our ambassadors, we couldn't be more appreciative of professionals like him and others taking their time to not only have a conversation like this, but to roll up their sleeves and really take action to serve our community. Right. And Rob, as Joe mentioned, there's never been a time in our lifetime like this where we're struggling. There are folks that we know that have lost their employment. There's folks that we know that have COVID. There's folks that we know have lost folks. There's folks that are in tough situations. We look at this type of situation and we look at kids that live in difficult situations in our community, that live in poverty. Their obstacles have become magnified because of this COVID-19 pandemic, magnified in ways that it's hard to understand. But again, folks like you, Rob, and like Joe Kelley from WDBO coming together in this tough time, we always rise to the challenge, don't we, Rob?
Definitely.
Whether there's a tragedy, whether there's an obstacle, we come together and we make a difference. This year, not only are we looking to help 10,000 children, but we're looking to make a difference in the lives of over 20,000 children. Wow. And if people will go to our website at HNOW, the letter H and the word now, all one line, hnow.org, or you can also go to backpack-a-thon, spell that one out, right? Backpack-a-thon.com. And you can go ahead and make a donation. In several ways, if you're a company, we got a call from a college yesterday, Rob and I did, and we got a call from this college. They've collected over 100 backpacks filled with school supplies, and they're going to drop it off over at a predetermined location. I don't want to announce the location now because I don't want people just showing up there. But we're going to say thank you to them, and they'll be thanked on air. And that's amazing. We have a process that we go through. We hit the backpacks. We check all of them for quality control. We add some school supplies into them. We hit them with UV lighting and make sure that the backpacks are completely safe. And then here's a cool thing, and Rob was a part of this idea, is we're giving them to the school resource officers, and the school resource officers and the school system are going to make sure that the kids that need them get them, which is pretty amazing. And also, we're working directly with the foundations for Orange County, Seminole County, and Osceola County school systems to make sure that the kids that need these tools, that they get them. And, you know, Rob was asking me earlier about my story, and I really didn't want to talk about that because I wanted to hear about Joe Kelley from WDBO and hear about what motivated him. And I think, Rob, we have a few extra minutes.
Yes.
And there was a time in my childhood when we were very, very in a very difficult situation, and we didn't have a lot, and I was part of a single parent family. And I remember going to school, and I don't remember how old I was, Rob, but I was really little. And I remember going to school, and I didn't recognize it at the time, but I was wearing the same clothes day after day, wearing the same shoes, the same 2 shirts. And my teacher gave me a box of clothes, an open box with some shoes and some school supplies. And I walked all the way home with that box. And that moment, I will never forget, Rob. It made such a massive difference. Now, after that time period, my family got through that situation, and you know, we ended up moving to Europe, to Spain, and I grew up there in just a beautiful Spanish house, and living in Europe was great. But that moment, I never forgot it. Even after going into business and the healthcare business, I never forgot that. So, Rob, I mean, what do you think? What do you think about motivation and what causes us to take the actions that we do?
I think it's amazing. You know, just like there's a song, a hymnal that says it only takes a spark to get the fire going. And, you know, that's the same thing. You know, it sounds like that was just a spark. That little spark of receiving that box of clothes, you know, really got you going because it touched you. And I reflect back to when we were able to work with you guys for the back to school bash last year, and it was our first time, and we had like over 10,000 kids coming in there, and the looks on their faces when they received those book bags with the supplies, you know, that's something that I would never forget, because I know that for each one of those kids, we were providing a spark for them. And so that's definitely what's needed, and I'm glad that just like Joe said, that we're able to come up with a way to do it during this pandemic, because with everything that's going on right now, you know, you hear, you know, just with the pandemic, you got, you know, the politics, then now we got a hurricane on the way, you know what I mean? Mm-hmm. So everything that's going on, you know, any chance that we can provide as you know, members of the community, any members that we could provide, any opportunity that we could provide to provide, you know, to provide some happiness, you know, to change the dialogue, to change, you know, whatever they're hearing on the news and whatnot, you know, just to put their mind off of that, provide some happiness in their lives. That's hopefully the same type of spark that we're providing.
And especially in the life of a child. I mean, you know, I just want to say lastly, you know, thank you, Rob, to you and your family, and to Fierce Entertainment. Last year, because of Rob and his sister, Jess, instead of spending the amount of money we did to rent the Amway Center or Camping World, they got us into a venue that was at no cost. And we were able to take those resources and put them directly into helping children. So just want to say thank you, Rob. Thank you, Fierce Entertainment. Thank you to Joe Kelley with WDBO for an amazing conversation. And lastly, regardless of what your motivation is, it doesn't matter. If you're focused on helping children, helping our community, we welcome you. My motivation is directly related to Jesus and to God. And that's what powers my heart and time to be able to take the actions that I do. But for you, it doesn't matter. Whatever your motivation is, we welcome you. We welcome you to Hope Now Foundation and to this effort. And Rob, thank you, sir. Thank you for this time.
No problem. My pleasure. My pleasure.
Thanks for watching. You can catch us live every Friday at 6 o'clock. And don't forget to subscribe and hit that notification button. Stay healthy, stay safe, and stay fierce.